Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Monday, and that means it's time for the Wrestling Inc. Monday Night Raw after show, and have we got a show for you. Gunther takes his first loss since debuting on the main roster. We've got Judgment Day having problems, and Akira Tozawa makes a statement. But before we get into all of that, let me go ahead and introduce the crew. I'm Jack Farmer, but I'm being joined by Justin LaBar and Jimmy Korderas. Justin, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's another Monday with you fellas. I wouldn't want to spend Monday with anybody else.
Jimmy, are you going to say anything is nice?
I wish I could. That was really nice. But you know what? This is I love Mondays because this is an excellent way to top the day.
It's a good way to a little nightcap for your Monday here. But I was telling the fellas before we went live here, I actually saw someone with a license plate that represented Triple J, and I know for sure it must be because of us. But it said Trips JJJ. I was like, hey, they got a license plate just for us. That's so kind of them.
Custom license plates pop me whenever I'm on the road. It's a fun game to play when you're on a long road trip, because you have to think. Like, it's always something very very kitschy or like they took the time to go to the place that nobody likes to go to, which is the DMV or the motor, whatever the acronym is for you, but the motor vehicle spot. And it's never efficient. It's never quick. But you got to get your custom plate. You got to register it, and all for what? So you can be cute while we're sitting in traffic. I don't know. So that pops me that there is a custom license plate, much less if it's done in our honor.
Oh, it's done in our honor, 100%. That's the only thing it could be. I do feel like with those license plates, though, it drives me nuts when I can't figure out what they're supposed to say. Like, I can tell that it's custom, but I'm like, but what does it mean? I want to text the driver and be like, while you're driving, text me this.
I know. I know, Jack, exactly what you're saying, because I could make out a lot of the stuff that they're saying, but it means something to them, kind of in their world, let's say in their kayfabe world. And
right.
It does. It's like, but I don't understand what that has to do with anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, does it have to do with a special day, a special person? You don't know. It's code. But yes. The one thing that scares me, though, is getting a customized plate. People remember them.
Yes. So if you do something wrong, they'll know it's you. And when you drive like Jimmy does, you can't have people remember what your license plate is.
Hey, I'm not a bad driver. At times I tend to go a little bit over the speed limit, but I'm not a bad driver. I'm impatient at times. I will say that.
Jimmy's not a bad driver. It's just literally every other person on the road.
You got it. See, why don't they see it?
Well, we got a bunch of news. I want to say thanks to everyone who's with us tonight. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, we've got some big news about a big return. Almost as big as us returning every single Monday, but this one's pretty big as well. John Cena is announced to return in September, first reported by Fox Sports and confirmed by WWE. John Cena is making his return to the company next month. Cena will appear on the September 1st edition of SmackDown, as well as the Superstar Spectacle taking place in India on September 8th. Jimmy, I always say with people like John Cena, especially at this point in his career, you've got to cherish every time you see him on WWE TV, because you never know how many you got left.
Exactly. And it always feels like a big deal, especially from someone from that era, the Attitude Era, one of the biggest stars ever, transitioning into Hollywood and now, making the time to come back. So it means something to him, and it means something to the fans, and him never having performed before in India for a live crowd there is something new for him. But at the same time, this is probably a lot of business going on behind the scenes that we don't hear about and see, but it doesn't matter. It's always good to see him in there. And as long as it elevates someone else, which I know John Cena is very good at, he's one of the best at elevating other people. This is a win-win for everybody.
Justin, I don't know about you, but it's still weird to me that SmackDown is being treated like the number one show and that he's going to be on SmackDown. And it's in my DNA that Raw is the biggest show for WWE. So it's weird when I see John Cena's returning for SmackDown. You get that weird feeling too?
Well, on the one half, yeah, because we grew up our entire lives with Raw being the A show, and look, we're the Raw post podcast here, so of course it has to be the A show. But look, SmackDown also gets a little bit better numbers. They also are getting more money than Raw is, so in that regard, I'll accept it. I think they probably had this planned. I think with this show over in India, they probably had this planned months out. But I have to say that with the strike going on in Hollywood, I do wonder if that's going to lead to maybe time opening up for guys like Cena or for Rock to where they can get out in front of the audience and make a few bucks. Not that they need any more, but perform and entertain. I'm just bitter because he's showing up September 1st on SmackDown. The next night they're here in Pittsburgh for Payback. So he's going to go to Hershey for SmackDown. The people in Hershey already got Hershey Park. Come to Pittsburgh for Payback. Come boost the premium live event business, John Cena. Don't be a coward to Pittsburgh. I challenge you, John Cena. Get to Pittsburgh. You can't see us.
Yeah, John. Why don't you make it to Payback at the very least? Show up for the big match, John. Be on the big shows, or Payback. In any case, I'm with you though, Justin. I want him there. I want him there. I want more of John Cena in general. But yeah, I wonder how that. I know nothing about how the strike and everything works, but I wonder if that rubs actors the wrong way when the guys are still doing appearances and stuff, or they probably don't care. It's probably just a separate world.
WWE is a separate world. No, John Cena and no, The Rock, they can't go on the Today Show and promote the projects that they're doing in Hollywood like they normally would. But WWE, just the same way that while the strike is going on for the writers in Hollywood, the same reason why the writers for WWE are not on strike, because they are not part of that union. So there would be nothing contractually, and I don't even think even beyond contractual, I don't think anybody in Hollywood would look down on John Cena or The Rock showing up on something that's, again, not covered by the union, and showing up, by the way, at their home base, at the product and institution that made them television stars before they even transitioned over to the big screen. So I'm not, who knows how long the strike's to go on or whatever, but I'm just saying I think it is a very relevant thing to think about. That again, that they might, these high profile stars who we always hear, it's their schedules. That's why we can't get them. But for the major shows like Mania, well, now that might potentially be opened up.
You hear that, WWE? Roman Reigns versus The Rock. Payback. It might be your only window. Just go for it. Just go for it.
Do it. Just do it.
Just do it. WWE confirms WrestleMania 40 already broke an all-time company record. Today they revealed that WrestleMania 40 broke the promotion's all-time record gate in one single day. Over 90,000 tickets were snapped up on Friday, and that is for the event in Philly on April 6th and 7th. And what's crazy is in one day, Jimmy, they broke the record that was just set this year in LA for the entire thing. That's, I mean, we obviously on the show, Jimmy, we'll nitpick wrestling shows and things like that. But how do you argue success in this case?
Well, it's, again, I don't know how many times we've said this. It is the wrestling business, and the business itself is doing very well. And we're seeing another boom. And yes, I know people start looking at ratings and go, yeah, but the ratings back in the Attitude Era were this, and they were, doing these numbers and those numbers on television. That was a different time. And the metrics, I think, are a little bit different because there's a different way that people watch the product, so to speak. But at the same time, there's an interest again. People are getting invested, and not only in WWE, we see it, at least with the Wembley show over in Europe, in the UK for AEW. That's just good sign that the business is in a good place right now. People are interested. So let's just hope. And again, it even made the local news here in Toronto. Where they talked about it. And of course they put a business spin on it because the stock for WWE went up because of the news of this and all that sort of stuff. So it's making headlines, and it's getting people, when it's going into the news world, where some people might say, hey, you know what? It's been a while since I've watched it. Maybe something's going on here. I should check it out again. You never know.
Yeah. Justin, do you think WWE's been doing very well financially over the past year? Is it really just because storylines are better? Is that really all it is? Or do you think there's more to it? Is Roman that big of a draw? Is it like, what do you think is causing this?
I don't think it's one thing. I think there's several factors that are being put into the blender, and they're making a pretty sexy pina colada. I think there's a continuity of storylines. There is we have some stars right now, both full time and Roman Reigns, and John Cena makes appearances, Brock Lesnar. It's also prices and everything are up in the world in general. So that's up for tickets. I think it's also, then you look at, WWE, while the Attitude Era was something that if you didn't live through it, it's hard to articulate to somebody who, if somebody's a new fan in the last 15 years or whatever, it's hard to articulate. While the Attitude Era was hot, but it still had a certain, it was still a certain lane. Right, like WWE is kind of hitting on a they've kind of found this happy middle ground of it literally is for everybody. Never more than now has WWE been friendly to parents and go with their kids, but there is still they've managed to reclaim, without going crazy raunchy 14. They've managed to reclaim some content and some personality that the adults can get into. There's still plenty there for the kids, which is important. Female audience, there's more than ever it's there now, that there's female role models and the talent for them. I think it's a lot of things that are just kind of all clicking at one. And you know what? Every time they break these records, WWE, it's like, okay, what's next? What record could they break next? This is WrestleMania. It's going to take place in 2024. By the time tickets go on sale and then we have WrestleMania in 2025, they are going to be on their new TV deal. And by that point, I fully expect whatever new TV deal they go on, they are going to have even more eyeballs on them. I'm not saying the Raw or SmackDown's numbers are going to be catastrophically greater than they are now, but all the other things, all the marketing and promotion and other little tangible things that go along with your TV partners are going to happen, whether it's still with NBC Universal and USA Network, whether it's still with Fox, or whether this was a thing in the news the other day. ESPN's head made no bones about, hey, we're still, that's not off the table for us. Mm-hmm. Could you imagine if ESPN is building towards WrestleMania, the crossover with the Super Bowl and all the other things that could potentially happen, or not maybe not the Super Bowl, but the build up just in the NFL season and such. So it's insane to think that WWE has not yet hit any. There's still peaks to break and records to break. It's just wild. But I think it's, to answer your original question, it's a lot of factors. It's not just one thing.
I like how you said all that, because it's especially now, I think it was controversial, obviously, them continuing to go during the pandemic and then now during the writer's strike. But I think also, if you're a TV executive, you look at the history of WWE and you say, they're never going to leave me high and dry. If they say they're going to fill in 3 hours of programming every Monday, they will fill in 3 hours of programming every Monday. I don't need to worry about writer strikes. I don't need to worry about actor strikes. I don't need to worry about pandemics. I don't need to worry about venue change, because they've also had last minute venue change. I don't need to worry about any of that. They'll figure it out, and they're going to put something on for 3 hours every Monday or whatever. I think that probably goes a long way with TV execs too, to just, you know what? I don't have to worry about it. Don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think the next deal is going to be pretty. And
it's all sorry, Jack. It's all original content too.
Yes,
it's all original content.
And sorry to cut you off, Justin. And there's no season. It is original content. I don't want to say 52 weeks a year, because sometimes there is a recorded show, but at the same time, it's live television every week.
No reruns. Reruns.
Yep. It's got to look very attractive, especially right now, to any TV executive. And the numbers are good. And I mean, and also, if you need it, you got all these different documentaries that are coming out now and things like that. as we continue to move on into the actual show, though, let's talk a little bit about. I gotta say, by the way, thanks to everyone in the chat. Dylan Matthews' parents are in the chat. I don't know who's doing that one, but Ethan Cruz, Ricky Zaldivar, J.R. Smith, Stephen Camp, Tut Graff, our biggest fan, NYC Demon Diva, showing up. Thank you so much, Issa, for coming through. Adam Staples hanging out. Good to see you again, Stephen Camp, and Beer Money, and Rocky, and Huffman, and everyone else. Thanks so much for coming through. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Grandma Daisy as well. Love you too, Grandma Daisy. And Manish. Let's move on let's start this show. We got Sami Zayn and KO. Well, Sami Zayn comes out and he works the crowd, and Judgment Day wants to spoil the party, but KO comes out and ruins their day. The champs challenge Judgment Day to a tag match later in the night. Jimmy, this is segment was fine, but something struck me this week, and that is it took literally 10 minutes before we got any new content from this episode. It started with the recap package, started with then of course a long intro for Sammy, then him listening to the crowd. Do you think they took a little too long to get this one going?
Normally I would say yes, but the crowd was into it so much, it just made Sammy feel like that much of a bigger star. Yes, he was in his home province, let's put it that way. And you know, the Quebecois, as we say up here, they're very passionate about their own stars. And you saw the reception he got, and then the reception when KO came out and stuff like that. So I'm almost positive they told them, listen, if the crowd is there, milk it. Let it go as long as it's it was one of those situations where it made me feel like I wish I was there live to absorb this.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was a good opening, but I was, like I said, kind of looking at my watch going, we're taking a little while to get where we're going. But Justin, I'd love your thoughts on this opening segment, and also just, do you think it was the right call to have KO return immediately in the show, or should it have been more of a surprise later on?
No, I think it was good, you know, especially because we're going to get then an additional surprise in the main event later that we'll talk about. I thought it's good. It's something for the crowd to be psyched about for the whole night. It's something for the TV audience who hasn't seen KO in a few weeks. So I get it. And you know what? I don't know about you guys, but to see a crowd that loud, that just loud and passionate, to where you do have minutes on end until the talent can get a word in, you know, you can't buy that. You can't just, you know, write that in the script and say, okay, this is what the crowd's going to do this week. So I think when you have it, man, you milk it, you know, especially when it's the start of a 3-hour show. You have a ton of time to make adjustments here and there. It's not like we're in a, you know, packed 20 pounds and 10-pound bag of dynamite here where we got to count by the second necessarily. You have the time. It's over. It's organic. It's natural. And again, as somebody watching at home, when I hear the crowd reacting that way, I mean, it gives a little extra something to the show. It's like, you know, like we've all sat through enough Raws where it feels like the crowd is sitting on their hands. So you don't shorten or do anything to stop the crowd when they are that naturally involved in what they're seeing.
Yeah, it's like I said, just something I noticed. Took a while to get there, but I agree. I think when you have a loud crowd, just let them roll, let them do their thing. Also, that kind of thing where like they're singing and all that kind of stuff, it feels so. It's just fun. It's exciting to see. But we get a tag match for later in the night. The overall gist of this wasn't exactly groundbreaking, but of course we'll move on with the show, and of course it'll come back later on. We do get something that was kind of fun. It was the New Day versus a team that was later dubbed McGriddle, which is, I think that wins of all the names we came up with before. But during the match, it's basically Riddle gets separated, and before he can make the tag to Drew, the Viking Raiders take it out Drew. New Day gets the win. Viking Raiders attacks everybody. Eventually, Drew takes out the Viking Raiders, ending my dream of a Highlander stable. Later, of course, New Day convinces them to go out to keep at it for at least one more match. Jimmy, this was, I feel like this was done well. We get a real winner, and we also keep things cooking.
I guess you can say that. The only issue I had, like if I'm going to be nitpicky, is you have two babyface tag teams, and it was, yes, the audience sort of gravitated towards Drew and Matt Riddle more than they did the New Day, for whatever reason, because they were both technically baby faces. But if you look at it this way, the New Day was in the traditional heel corner, and McRiddle was in the in the babyface corner, and there was nothing wrong with the match. The match was fine. I thought, especially considering it was two babyface tag teams, I thought they did a pretty good job of handling that situation. And you know, again, my only issue is in matches like that, you want crowd to really get behind one team and really dislike the other. We just didn't get that, but it moved the story forward, and we got, the Viking Raiders come out and, make their presence felt. Let's put it that way.
Justin, are you digging McRiddle? Do you like them as a tag team, or do you want to see them separate? I feel like online the people are split.
And I'm kind of split myself. I just kind of, right now, it still feels a little forced. It feels like we are trying to manufacture and recapture the magic that we got with RK Bro. Kind of we're trying to find another oddball pairing of Riddle with, very stable, secure, credible, big, intense veteran. And rather than Randy, it's Drew. So I don't know if I necessarily want to say it's split, but I don't know. I'm not yet sold on it. And I'm glad Jimmy pointed out that was kind of an interesting thing. It's face for face. Jimmy said babyface corner. It's the corner that's facing the hard camera. It's the corner you want to, whatever team, usually the babyface, whatever team TV wants to feature, they're going to have them facing the camera. And so I noticed that too. And, it got me wondering, okay, that's the story. That's who we're looking at here. But I don't know where I want to go with this. I don't know. I don't know if I buy into the tag team, but I also then look at it from a bigger picture. Is this still part of Riddle disappeared for a little bit at the start of this year? Is this still part of his redemption tour? Is it seen? Can we still trust this guy? Is he still a guy we're building off in the future? I don't know, but I'm not yet sold on McGriddle or Michael Cole said it last week. The Scottish Highlanders. I need to figure out more of what we're doing here.
Yeah, I find myself kind of torn myself because I feel like Drew should be a singles wrestler, but at the same time, I don't know what I'd have him do right now because it looks like he's done with Gunther apparently. That's moving on. I don't know if I want to see him become the champ just yet. Like I feel like you need him to be doing something, but you can't. There's not really much for him to do right now. However, it feels like Drew finds himself in that spot a lot over the past few years, and so I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing with Drew because I still picture him as someone that they could utilize big time as a single superstar, and putting him in this tag match. I guess trying to show a different side to him is what they're attempting to do, but I hope it doesn't do harm as opposed to enhance his appeal to the audience.
Yeah. I'd say this. I mean, I don't have a problem if they try to peel a layer back of Drew McIntyre and we get a little bit of comedy and this and that, because quite frankly, look, if he's already going down the IC title path with Gunther. He hadn't won that. It doesn't, he's not going to be in the world title picture at the moment against Seth. It doesn't seem so. I don't mind for some comedy in this and that, and especially if they know something we don't, which is, okay, we build for a few weeks or months of a relationship with Drew and Riddle, and then what if Randy Orton does come back, and we almost have a little bit of an oddball bro kind of babyface comedy until one of them turns. And I mean, that's something that if they in fact know, okay, look, Randy's going to be ready in October or November, whatever, then I could see this being some kind of long play of creative, and I'd be fine with it. So it goes to the old saying that Jimmy would say, let's let it play out. But as it stands right at the moment, it feels forced. But again, maybe they have a bigger plan here.
Justin, this is why I always like you to have the pencils, because it'd be a great scenario if you had you have Randy Orton, who didn't want to team with Matt Riddle and didn't like Matt Riddle in the first place, and Drew McIntyre, who doesn't want to team with Riddle, doesn't like Riddle in the first place, but now suddenly they're like, oh wait, no, he's mine. No, he's mine. I don't want to, and now they're fighting to keep him, even though they didn't want to be with him in the first place.
Isn't it just the makings of an entertaining Survivor Series team?
Ooh, we would need the fourth though.
A good time.
There is time.
It'll be Cody. It's always Cody. Cody's always that.
or it's a 5-way, and the New Day's there as well. I mean,
there you go. We have a match of the night contender here. Gunther takes on Chad Gable, Intercontinental Championship on the line. We got a pre-tape promo from Gunther. We got Gable chatting with his pals in the back. But then we get the match, and it's awesome. Obviously, you got two guys that every match they have is great. So when you put them together, of course, they're going to have a great match. Ends in a count out with Gable becoming the first person to beat Gunther in a singles match since he's debuted on the main roster per Michael Cole. Justin, I'm just going to let you go with it. What are your thoughts on this one?
No, I mean, look, a great match. I don't think these two could have had a bad match. I don't. They couldn't happen. Love Chad Gable's a la Bret Hart, sternum first bump into the turnbuckle. It's such a. I mean, first off, it's a pretty wicked pump to take because in order to do it and make it even make sense, you have to hit the thing full on. Mm-hmm. You can't half-ass it. Otherwise, it's like, what did he just do? Did he forget the turn? But it's such a the babyface is down and out. He can't even finish his stride. The match was really good. Look, I think Gunther, he's 18 days away. I think he's going to break this record, Honky Tonk Man's IC title record. But as you said, they managed to get Gable an accolade. He beat Gunther for the first time since Gunther's been on the main roster. No, he didn't win the title. And yes, this will probably, I would imagine, follow up to a match at Payback, and maybe we make it no DQ, no holds barred, so it has to be pinfall or submission. But even if he doesn't capture the title there, I feel like he has been elevated, and he's moved up in the rankings on the card, for me at least.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's done what no one's been able to do, including guys like Drew McIntyre and Sheamus and some pretty heavy hitters. He got a win over Gunther. That's count out or no. It was a fair, clean win. But Jimmy, what I loved about this is not only does he get the win, he gets all the good that comes with it, yet Gunther still gets to keep the title. I think this is one of those times where the whole champion's advantage was done in the perfect way. I loved this.
No, it absolutely did work. I know people are going to complain about, he won by count, but that's the beauty of it. Now, can you imagine, because Chad Gable has been, I've compared him to Kurt Angle so much that it's ridiculous. But can you imagine him bragging from here on end about beating Gunther, being the first person to beat him since he made his debut on the main roster, and Gunther saying, "You didn't beat me. You counted, you whatever, and and I beat you, and I deserve a rematch for that title." And yes, it's probably going to lead to something with a stipulation added to it, but I enjoyed it. I think a lot of times you get a count out finish and you go, in this case it was like, I wonder where this is going to lead next, and that's what you want.
So how many days or how many defense opportunities does Gunther have between now and breaking the record? He has next Monday, then Payback is the following Monday, right? Or the following
He has. If you want to count Raw and SmackDown, he has this Friday SmackDown, next Monday's Raw, Friday SmackDown September 1st, Payback September 2nd, and Raw September 4th, and then SmackDown on September 8th. That day, if he gets through that day, I believe he will have beaten the record. So it could set up to a SmackDown match on that September 8th, because that would be the checkpoint date.
Well, you should have him have a match on that day, even if, just because that all of us will be like, oh, he's got to break the record. He's got to break the record. But there was some dissension in the ranks backstage after the match, Justin, and I'm starting to get the feeling that title reign is going to end sooner rather than later. And I think that now Gunther is going to have to answer for not living up to his end of the bargain soon.
I just can't see it happening. Not because Chad Gable wouldn't be worthy, but they've put all this work in. I just can't see him coming up a week or two short. And I've said it before. I think it's very well known. I think Triple H has said it in media calls. It's not hard to read between the lines. He's a big fan of Gunther. There's even things about Gunther that I see that, and I haven't seen a ton, but the little bit of video and photos I've seen of Killer Kowalski, who trained Triple H. There's a few things about Gunther that kind of remind me of that generation of what I'm like, no, Gunther's this has been destined for him to be in the record books. He is going to break Honky Tonk Man's record. He is going to push Honky Tonk Man aside. He is going to be in the record books for this IC title. And this IC title, again, it's elevated to where you can, again, I think you could anchor and main event a show around it, which it's been many years. Hell, there was Manias for many years, or WrestleManias that didn't have the IC title even on it. Think about that. So I just don't see him coming up shy. But I think part of the fun is seeing what can we do in the process. And I think tonight, Chad Gable getting a victory on the record books, that's helping make a guy like Chad Gable.
Yes. And really quickly here, you said something very interesting, Justin, elevating the IC championship back to its status that it had back in the day. If he breaks the record, the Honky Tonk Man's record, it makes it feel like it means something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It means just that much more. So if they take it away from him just before he breaks the record, that's all people will be talking about, as opposed to the title itself.
And I don't know, no offense to Honky Tonk Man, but it feels weird saying he's the longest reigning champion. I want someone who's dominant, who feels like it
worked.
I think. Well, and then Honky Tonks gets broken by Warrior, which, if we look at history, Vince was just doing anything to catapult Warrior at the time, and history shows that played out. Jack, can we show Bernie's comment?
Yeah, this one,
because that's right. Is the eighth is a Friday? Is that also the same day that they're in India?
I think so. Let me double check my notes from earlier.
If I'm not mistaken, that was the date.
September 8th. Yeah.
So for those on the audio that don't see this, Bernie says maybe Cena challenges Gunther for an IC title match at Payback. Maybe shows up at Payback, challenges him for September 8th SmackDown. Cena's never won the IC title, gives Gunther a huge win to break the. I mean, God, what a last title defense to break the record if you cross the finish line by beating John Cena.
Wow.
And that would be such a good match. That would. I have a feeling they would put on a show stealer, obviously, but I think we'd be talking. It hasn't happened yet, but I think it would potentially be a match of the year candidate, because I know that John Cena would show up for that match, and Gunther, he would show up for that match, and it would just be a slapper for sure. But the fact that we're talking about the Intercontinental Championship this much shows just how great this run has been.
Yeah.
But Cody Rhodes comes out and he talks to Byron for a second. Comes out and says a few things to sort of pop the crowd and get them excited. Alludes to something that may happen later tonight. But Justin, I wanted to kind of a nothing segment, really. He kind of comes out and says nothing, but I really appreciated this about Cody Rhodes, because a lot of times people will say, like, this person should be the guy, this guy could be the guy, this person should be the world champion. This is what being the guy looks like. Like, you got to go out there, you got to say nothing, but you got to leave the crowd feeling like you just did something amazing. And Cody Rhodes nails it every time. And
No, you kind of summed it up. I really can't elaborate much more. That is it's just your mere presence gets people. It's memorable to people. It's they paid a ticket. A large part of their ticket they paid for is that they wanted to interact with you. They wanted to sing your song. They wanted to whatever. You're right. That he didn't do much here. It was just, it was a live, steady one cam shot backstage through Gorilla, which you don't always get anymore. And that's what it was. But it popped to people in Quebec. It was their first time seeing. I think it's the first time they've been to Quebec City since Cody's been back in 2 years. So just the sight of seeing him for just those few moments at the stage, that's a big deal.
And the little things that become a big deal. Him saying, "So Quebec City," and in French he says, "So what are we talking about?" You know, that little thing just put it over the top. And then he put over, of course, the tag champs as well. And yeah, he just knows how to get it done.
Yep. I mean, so anytime, people are saying like who should beat Roman Reigns and who should be the next person to be, you got to ask yourself, could you give them a segment every week where they come out and say nothing, but the crowd still leaves fired up and excited? It sounds easy, but it's tough. And Cody Rhodes nails it every time. We got a couple of promos. I'm going to lump them together here. Shinsuke says that he whispered to Seth that he knows about his back being injured. And Rollins says, it is injured. It's hurt, but don't bring my family into this. Jimmy, I want you to talk to me about these promos. Did you enjoy them? Was the reveal of what was whispered good for you? Did it make you feel more into this matchup? What are your thoughts?
I don't know if what was whispered did it. I think Seth made me more interested because we got a serious Seth. That we've had that fun Seth for so long now that when you do the little things, when that switch gets flipped and all of a sudden he's back to being that serious Seth Rollins, that's what got me more interested than the Shinsuke reveal.
Yeah. And that's one of the big things I always say too about the people who are at the top. The thing about what I love about Seth is he can be goofy and then he can turn it serious when he needs to. And that's such a important thing that I think a lot of people miss too. But Justin, I want to talk, I'll be honest, I don't know if I felt like the reveal was that shocking. I wasn't like, oh, wow. I was kind of like, oh, okay, his back hurts, but what a way to, his back hurts, but I feel like the way they presented Shinsuke in this video was incredible.
Yes. And that's it. I agree with what Jimmy said. Seth's response certainly helped the magnitude of this whole thing, right? Because we got a serious Seth, but it does start with Shinsuke with the reveal, and this might have been the best Shinsuke promo we've ever gotten. Yes, it was obviously, of course, pre-taped and pre-packaged or whatever, but WWE does that stuff great. And if Shinsuke, if you were to ask him to say all that in English, and if the inflection, if the tone, if the volume, if it's not going to come off threatening and interesting and all the things that you want it for a heel, whether it's live in front of a crowd or even if it's in however many takes, and it probably wouldn't be because it is a second language, so it's not going to come as natural. So sitting him down, having him look serious the way he did, and stitching it in with all the visuals and B-roll that they did, having him speak his native language, having him speak Japanese and sounding threatening, and just by him speaking Japanese anyways, especially for the majority of us who don't know Japanese, it sounds even more aggressive. It sounds even more dangerous. It kind of made me go, God, why haven't we done, they've had a heel Shinsuke before years ago. It kind of made me go, why haven't we done this before? This was the best that Shinsuke Nakamura in my mind for that 2 minutes has looked for my viewing pleasure. He actually seems like a real threat to Seth to me. And I'm glad that they did give us a reveal. Yeah, maybe, it's his back, but okay, it's his back. He knows about a weakness to his opponent. I feel like in past WWE, we would never even gotten a follow-up to what he actually whispered, or there would have been a lot of speculation that would have been really ridiculous. I don't know. This came off, Shinsuke Nakamura was a huge winner for me tonight, and we didn't even see him live. So take that for what you will.
Yeah, I was going to say, to Jimmy's point, Seth Rollins is incredible, but I almost take that for granted. Like, oh yeah, of course he was. Yeah, that was great. Of course, it's Seth Rollins. Yeah, that was good.
Right.
But so then when I see Shinsuke though, like, come across so dangerous feeling, it was like, ooh, this is spicy. I like this. I do wish there was a reveal that was like more shocking, but it's fine. They didn't drag it. It wasn't like Rowan with the cage, where they drug it on for 6 months.
Well, they with Eric Rowan, they actually did not know what they were going to do inside of the cage. Like,
I believe it.
I again, in a previous WWE creative circle, Shinsuke would have whispered to Seth last week, and if we got a reveal, he's going to say in Japanese, "I'm actually the father of your child." Like, I mean, like, so it would have been something kind of crazy off the wall, whatever. So I don't know. I kind of appreciate some kind of grounded reality of your back's screwed up and I'm going to exploit it.
Right. And the big reveal too, from Seth, and giving the background on the back problems that he does have with the 2 fractured lumbar discs and whatever, for 6 years now, and giving a little bit of a backstory about that too. So.
Well, and what I like about it is it's simple, but I always say you got to get it back to wrestling. And now when they're in the ring, I know he's going to work the back, and I know there's going to be those moments, and you're going to go, oh, like now will this be what makes him tap or give up or whatever? As opposed to sometimes other characters, they'll be interesting, but you're like, well, what does that have to do with pro wrestling? Why is that? Like, that, for me, that was always an issue with like Bray Wyatt. Is like, this is interesting, but I have no idea what this has to do with pro wrestling. Where this brings us back to what happens in the ring. Yeah,
physically, it makes for a very easy story to tell in the match. I mean, Shinsuke is going after that. I mean, it makes for just it's such an easy night at the office from a creative standpoint, at least.
Right. Not for the fellas in the ring, but for the creative guys.
But hell, but if you want to try to make it easier, you could have Shinsuke attack Seth backstage earlier in the night. And we don't even necessarily have to even see the attack, but you can even just see the result. We could see some crazy thing, on Seth face down and a forklift full of beer kegs and pallets are on top of or face up. I mean, just little things. So it really does. This I don't know. I think this was really well done. Maybe again, for something that wasn't even live to the audience as a pre-tape, this might have been the winner for me on the show of what it accomplished.
Yeah, me too. Rhea Ripley has a match with Candice LeRae. It's pretty short, but Candice did get some offense in. Post-match, Raquel comes out. She fakes the injury and then attacks Rhea Ripley and really gets one over on Ripley before cutting a promo saying it's going to be Rhea versus Raquel at Payback. Jimmy did – now, obviously, Rhea's the champ, and she did great. Do we need to see Rhea wrestle more often and get more wins? I feel like we're not seeing her actually wrestle very often.
Well, we need to see a little bit more, more or less, fewer enhancement matches. Let's put it that way. She's been very dominant in the last couple of matches she's been on TV with, at least anyways. At least tonight, Candice looked like that one moment there was a slim chance that she might have snuck one over on the champ, but at the same time, I don't know. I almost kind of feel like Rhea has that personality where you don't have to put her on TV in wrestling matches. She is that much of a character that people get invested in, so that when she does perform in the ring on television, it means a lot more. When she's beating people like Candice in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever the case may be, people kind of go, yeah, well, who did she beat? Kind of thing. That's the mentality. So she has that factor where you don't have to put her in matches every week. And tonight I thought she was dominant on the show, more so not in wrestling, but in what she was doing with Judgment Day.
Oh yeah, she came off like the leader today.
Exactly what I have written down.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. I jumped ahead there. So I apologize. We'll talk about that later.
No worries.
But Justin, I just want you to bask in the moment and appreciate that this is one you've been wanting to see, and it's going to happen at Payback.
Well, I am excited. Yeah, I'll be able to see it live at Payback. I think Raquel is a great babyface. She's not going to beat Rhea. I don't really have any hope that she's beating Rhea. But maybe kind of like we talked about earlier about Gable and Gunther, maybe the way this gets presented in the book, maybe it can continue to push Raquel up the card, and maybe she comes back around later on. And but to your immediate question and point that you asked to Jimmy, I don't think we need to see more Rhea matches for the sake of Rhea matches. A couple things. One, because I think if you try to keep rolling out opponents for her, she's going to beat them all. And quite frankly, I've said this, she is just in a level that is beyond most any other woman on that roster. And so I feel like if you try to put her out there and have too many 10, 15, 20-minute competitive matches, it's kind of like what I complain about at times with AEW. It's like, this match doesn't need to be that competitive. It's an obvious squash match. Stop trying to make me feel that these two are of equal. You know, I think she's in a level of her own. And like Jimmy said, you don't need to put additional matches out there for Rhea because she's out there with her male Judgment Day compadres. So she's already acting as a leader. Hell, sorry to jump ahead. She body slams Kevin Owens later in the night and tells him to suck it. I mean, she's out there looking dominant against males. So you don't need to make matches for sake of matches because, again, there are very few women who are even close to on her level that even seem like it makes any sense to believe that they're going to beat her. So I feel like if you just start rolling matches out, and if it's not against local female talent, so the traditional jobber method, let's find somebody local. If you're actually putting the Candice LeRae's and other ladies who are full-time members of the roster, all you're doing is just killing any spark that they could potentially build up. So
you're getting a ton of support in the chat, Justin. So I'm not gonna fight the people. Can
I give a Rhea cheap plug?
Yeah.
A week from this Thursday, so August 31st.
Yeah.
Is that it?
A week 31st from. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 31st.
August 31st. Make sure you follow my socials. I will have a brand new conversation with Rhea Ripley that'll go out.
That's what we call a get. You got a Rhea. That's a good one. She doesn't do it. Does she? I don't think she does a lot of interviews. Does she?
I don't know, but I got her.
Like now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like I don't see her doing it. So awesome. That's going to be right before Payback. Wait.
48 hours before Payback.
48 hours before a big match with Raquel Rodriguez. You'll be able to look in her eyes and see if she's nervous. I don't think she's nervous.
I don't think she's nervous
either. Someone else who's not nervous is Tommaso Ciampa says that he's been close to being the champion, getting championship spots, and he's done being that guy, and he's going to be what he wants to be, and he's going to do it himself. Justin, you're a Ciampa guy, aren't you? Am I remembering that right?
Yeah.
Did you like how this was presented? I guess I'll tease a little bit. I felt like he kind of talked about how he wasn't good enough a little bit too much in this one for my take. But what was your thought?
No, I like the way it was presented. It was serious. And I mean, I certainly was. I was on the hook. Do it yourself, DIY. And we've all been wondering where Johnny Gargano is. And certainly Gargano and Ciampa seem to make they're good friends, better enemies, good friends. I don't know. So I'm on the hook to see where this leads for sure.
Jimmy, do you want to see Gargano and Ciampa team up again?
I would love to see them team up. I'd love to see them face each other. I think either way, it's going to work out good. And as far as the promo itself, I thought that I liked the way it was presented. Him seated in the chair, staring at the camera, and that very serious. It felt authentic. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I want to see him team up with Johnny. I feel like both of them would benefit a lot from that, and especially just going back because they're kind of living the same thing that they lived before, where they need to find a way to stand out on the main roster, much like they were trying to do back in NXT. I think if it worked before, let's try it again. I want to see them do their stuff together. Miz, this was the best. This is the best part of the night. Let's not pretend that there's anything better than this, you guys. The Miz comes out, calls LA Knight the Hoobastank of WWE, but then decides he wants to have the biggest match of his career on Monday Night Raw. And you know who's ready? Akira Tozawa is ready. I was so excited he came out. Justin, you actually called it last week. It was Akira Tozawa. But what happened? Akira Tozawa got the win. I was losing my mind in my living room watching this because I'm the world's biggest Akira Tozawa fan. Justin, you called it. You get first word on this. And also, my question, though, is Akira Tozawa next in line for Roman Reigns?
Yeah. First off, I think that the fact that Akira Tozawa hasn't had a Raw singles match and I don't know how many months or years. So the fact that I was able to meteorologist forecast that, I mean, I'm playing some Marilyn Keno tomorrow. No, I mean, look, Cesaro was a great role player too. He's a great team player. This is funny. Everything delivered. But here's my actual critique and my complaint. I don't know if Cesaro should have won.
What? How dare you?
Well, look. I am all for Tozawa going the distance and having some close false finishes and making the Miz really have to take him seriously. And then finally, the Miz is contending with LA Knight, who's there on commentary. A nice job by formatting of TV, going to commercial, teasing when we come back. LA Knight's going to be on commentary. What a great way to hold the audience over. You got one of the most popular stars, and you're saying he's going to be on commentary, which I don't think he's ever done on Raw. So all that makes sense. But while the Miz is the Miz and he is a little goofy and whatever, I don't know if it helps what I assume, Jimmy, is a match at Payback between LA Knight and Miz. I don't know if it helps that the Miz just slipped on the banana peel and lost to Tozawa. I don't know. That's my critique. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm on board with you, Justin. I couldn't have said it any better. Now, if Tozawa is, whether it's slip on a banana peel, regardless of whether he was being distracted by LA Knight and the whole bit, whatever. Why do I care now if LA Knight beats Miz? If Tozawa beat him,
because Miz cost LA Knight the match on Friday. Now it was against Austin Theory, so
but still
not quite as good as Akira Tozawa.
But but again, if Tozawa beats Miz, then why does it make it special? Other than, like, I get your point, but it just feels like, okay, he beat someone that Akira Tozawa just beat and who hasn't wrestled in like 6 years on TV.
Well, I think Deadpool Party in the chat, I'm throwing this one up there, has the right idea. LA Knight versus Miz versus Tozawa at Payback. Triple threat, baby. Winner take all. Whatever's on the line in this match.
Yeah, I mean, look. The devil's advocate response to what Jimmy and I are saying is that the Miz is the Miz. He's a Hall of Famer tomorrow. So I mean, I get that. Like, okay, he loses and it doesn't. But there is a little bit of logic gap of like the idea that he's supposed to select his opponent. That's as ridiculous as Tozawa is that he, at the end of the day, beats Tozawa. Tozawa could give him a run for his money, but at the end of the day, even if the Miz it would actually be better if the Miz cheated. Tozawa should have took him to the limit, and then Miz needed to cheat. Poke the eyes, pull the tights, whatever. But it's like, oh, the Miz had to cheat to beat Tozawa, but he still beat him. So it's like, all right, LA Knight, look out. Miz is willing to do anything it takes to win a match. The fact that he got beat by Tozawa, it is a bit of a miss to me.
Well, I don't care what you guys say. I am the leader of the Akira Tozawa fan club, and I'm gonna go all the way to the bank with this win. I was excited. I didn't care. I was so pumped for my guy, and I hope somewhere in the locker room, Cody Rhodes was shaking his head, going, "I should have let Akira be my tag team partner back in that match." I don't even remember what the match was.
I will say Tozawa's in phenomenal shape.
Yeah,
he really is.
He's not the biggest dude, but when you look, I mean, he is cut. He's in a great shape. So good for and his comedic timing.
Yeah,
in that promo exchange. I mean, I'm glad he's still employed. He's got things to offer.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that today too. I was like, man, he's as they say, he doesn't have to get ready because he stays ready or whatever the line is Bianca Belair uses. But Becky Lynch comes out and cuts a promo. She says she is unstoppable, and then Trish Stratus just plays that crowd like a fiddle. Then she says that she's not going to be just the best of her generation, but the best of this generation. Then she says she's scared to get in the cage, but she's always successful when she does things she's scared to do. Next week, Becky Lynch versus Zoe Stark in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Jimmy, I've said this before, but outside of the obvious shots at the crowd, a lot of what Trish was saying made me feel like we should root for her.
I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, it came off so condescending and so arrogant. And yes, there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, and I think Trish sided more on the side of arrogance, and that's where, yes, when you take shots at the Quebec crowd, especially when you're from the English-speaking part of Canada, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's an easy way to get some heat over there. But at the same time, she was starting, before she even ripped on them, she was getting some cheers, but there was still some boos there. So she is doing it right, in my opinion.
I was just, because Becky comes out, she's like, I'm unstoppable. And then she's like, Trish is like, I'm scared, but I still did it and made it work. I was scared, but I still overcame. It felt, I don't know, maybe it's just because I like Trish more, so I'm rooting for her here. But Justin, how did you feel with this one?
I'm torn on this whole thing. You know, I thought Trish did her best out there to try to, try to get some heat towards her home country. You know, granted, as Jimmy said, it's different part of the country that made a little, mocking the French speak. But that, and then I look at Becky, and I Becky is a talent. Becky is very good, but I can't help but think that seeing when the man and all that organic surge of popularity with her came about, what would have been 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, it feels like she's playing the man. Something doesn't feel natural. There's some things that feel a little forced. Maybe part of it goes back to what I said for months on this podcast, which is I don't know how many people actually really want to boo Trish. So maybe it's just the opponent. I don't know. They're going to have a cage match here in Pittsburgh. I want to be excited about it. I'm excited about seeing them both perform, but I'm just not invested the way that I wish I was. Again, I don't know if it's, Trish is a heel, not buying it. I don't know if but it's just not clicking. Something's not clicking for me. And tonight was more of that.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like with Becky, I keep saying she says she's unstoppable, but I feel like the way she, like I look back at some of the great faces of our time. Like Stone Cold was unstoppable, but he didn't come out and say, I am unstoppable. He said, I'm going to beat you up. Like, let me get my hands on you. I want to fight you. Not that, oh, I'm unstoppable and I've beaten all these people. But that seems like that's Becky's line is, I never lose. Look at all the people I've beaten. But that's not like something I relate to. Even The Rock would say, I'm going to beat you up. I'm not going. He didn't say it. Look at all these people I've beaten. That's what Triple H would say when he was part of Evolution and we were booing him. That's not a rallying thing. That's like you look at in like the Super Bowl, the most charismatic person doesn't come in and say, oh yeah, we're here because we beat everyone and we're the best team. It's like, no one believed in us, but we came back and we fought hard, like, I don't know. I don't feel like she says stuff that really makes me want to support her. I know,
but that's stuff like sounds like a humble underdog would say. And Becky's not an underdog. Becky is a top talent here. She's one of the big stars on Raw, so she should sound confident. And yes, I get your point about it when she says stuff like "I'm unstoppable." Maybe choice of words could be a little different. When she says "always fight," that more resonates more than "I'm unstoppable." Because when you and I and people hear "I'm unstoppable," it's like everybody's stoppable at some point. You know what I mean? It comes off as arrogant as opposed to,
Yeah. We got a few people asking, Jimmy, did you know what they were saying, what any of the French chants were from the crowd?
I wish my wife was watching with me because she speaks French very well. I didn't get, unfortunately, I'm not up to par with my French. Let's put it that way.
That's funny. You could have said anything and we would have believed you.
I know. But one thing I don't like doing is,
you could be like, they were chanting my name in French. They wanted me back. I was so.
Oh yeah, that's what they were doing. Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, crazy. That's interesting.
There was one point where I thought they were chanting F-bombs, and I'm not sure. But anyways,
that would have been great if they did, and no one knew to beep it. But Shelbowski with the super chat says Becky was confident before, now she's cocky.
That's how it's coming across.
Yes.
Yeah, because like I said, there's that fine line between cocky and confident, and I think people are reading it as more cocky as opposed to confident.
And look, I always like to add a disclaimer with Becky Lynch. I complain. I know people love her, so I'm not going to argue whether she should be on TV or not. It's not connecting with me.
Yeah, it just doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't connect. I don't know. It's just I go back to the women's division, especially in Raw. I feel like Rhea is just in a level of her own. Even Becky is not there. It's this. There's a disconnect.
Yeah,
I want to thank Dylan Matthews for speaking French. Thank you for translating.
Yeah, Dylan Matthews, the GIF King. The French translation chant was Jimmy Korderas for WWE Hall of Fame, which in French chants very well. I mean, in English, it'd be tough to chant that, but in French, sounds great.
Yeah.
Chelsea Green and Piper Niven versus Katana Chance and Caden Carter. This is like... Justin, I love Chelsea Green and Piper Niven as a team. I feel like that's just this. Everything about this I loved.
It's certainly making the most of a, situation of Sonya being legit injured. I like the touch of after they win, Piper's carrying Chelsea out. It's it's a nice touch. It's a nice dynamic of Piper, the serious big physical threat, and Chelsea's just the running her mouth nonstop. I like the dynamic. So yeah, I mean, what it was. I will give out a shout too on the offense of Chance and Carter. That the little bit of offense I got was got the audience pop. But yeah, I mean, this is an audible call because of DeVille's injury. But I think that next woman up and Piper Niven being put in this position, I think it's a nice dynamic. So
yeah, and Jimmy, I want your thoughts on this one. I love that Chelsea's being Chelsea, but Piper's cutting her off. I'm like, whatever, let's just go fight. And then just like doing her thing. And also to the point of Justin, the offense of Carter and Chance, that move they did off the top rope is a finisher. Right. They should. Yeah. I thought that was going to win them. It didn't win tonight. In the future, though, that's your finisher. If I was backstage, you're winning with that from now on. But Jimmy, your thoughts on Piper and Chelsea, and of course this match.
Yeah, I thought it's an interesting dynamic. I like the diverse characters. Let's put it that way. Yeah. And the match was okay. At times the crowd was quiet, like Justin said, when they did moves like that off the top, spinning, whatever the heck you want to call that move. They did come alive for that. But that felt like it was one of the few times they did. The rest of the time they were kind of quiet. It's like they weren't invested in the story being told.
And Jimmy, shout out to the ref and Michael Cole. Part of the match got defined by, did Chelsea make the tag to Piper or not? Mm-hmm. And Michael Cole's questioning it, and then the ref did enforce the fact of who was the legal woman,
right,
when a pinfall happened. And Michael goes, okay. So I mean, that was another thing. It was kind of it took away a little bit from the match because it kind of brought about a phase of confusion, but it also was a good look of the ref, the female ref, had things under control. She knew who was going to be legal for a pin and who was not.
Yeah, I will give you that. The only issue is the live crowd probably didn't catch it like we did on TV because we had the advantage of having Michael Cole explain that.
Yeah.
So there's where the disconnect might have been with the crowd. And to your point, Jack, about that being a finishing move, I agree with you. That's a finishing move. That's one of the reasons why, as much as I enjoyed seeing it tonight, maybe we shouldn't have seen it tonight until they were ready to win a match and win it with that move.
Yeah, because it was cool looking, and I've never seen anything like it. It very cool. But I will say it's interesting because it felt like a mess up with the referee, but to me, it actually just highlighted how good WWE officials and commentary is. That it felt like something didn't go right, but they still got it back on track. Commentary did a great job of covering it. They still got things back on track. They didn't just go, okay, well, whatever. I guess this is messed up. And it reminded you of how rare it is to see the mess up. You know what I mean?
Right. I'm sorry, Justin. It just said I'm tired of hearing referees' discretion and allowing things to go because certain things happen. When that happens, it takes attention away from what's going on, and at times puts the heat on the wrong person, the person in the striped shirt.
Yeah. I thought there was going to be a little bit of that case with the main event, which we'll talk about now because with what happened with the case, but. So throughout the night, we're trying to figure out who's going to be in this tag team main event. JD McDonough wants to help his friendship with Finn, but the Judgment Day hates him. They need to find a teammate, of course. They need to figure out who's going to be the two. Of course, Priest and Finn don't want to work together. And Dom is like, I like both you guys. But they eventually get the team together. Well, Rhea decides the team is going to be Finn and Priest, and they're going to take on KO and Sami Zayn. It's a great match. Finn cannot catch a briefcase to save his life, ends up getting hit by one, gets DQ'd. Now we've got a 6-man tag, Judgment Day versus Sami, KO, and Rhodes, and the good guys get the win. Justin, this was a lot of stuff that happened in this main event. And as I was going to say, at first I thought the ref wasn't supposed to see the shot from the briefcase because I saw how much time was on the clock still. And I was like, oh no, what are they going to do? But go ahead and let me know what your thoughts were on this main event.
No, I mean, it was a good main event. We furthered the drama with the Judgment Day. The hometown baby faces get the love. I'm legit kind of at a crossroads, no pun intended to Cody Rhodes, of
you're a pro.
Yeah. Of where we are going. It's obvious that we're going to have a split come. It's obvious that Finn and Priest are at their wits' end with each other's, right? But what does that mean? Excuse me. Does that mean JD and Finn have their own strong unit of a team? Does that mean that Priest is voted as acting selfishly, that he has a briefcase and he's exiled on his own, and Finn and JD are part of the Judgment Day? Like, I don't know what it means, and that's good, right? I mean, that's good because, from a creative standpoint, now, because I don't know where we're going. I'm going to tune in to see. Yeah, so I'm going to keep watching. I'm going to see where they're going with this. I guess my one critique would be of this is that Rhea looks dominant because she's the most dominant female and she's bossing these guys around. Dom is by proxy. Dom's attached to her. He's also the North American champion in NXT. Dom is dominant. I guess what they decide to do with Priest and Finn, let's carefully see, because you don't want to lose the momentum that Priest has having that briefcase, but you also don't want to just completely squash Finn and make him seem like he's just been pushed over or whatever. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I guess that's what I'm watching is it's mostly Finn. Priest has the briefcase. Money in the Bank odds tell us more times than not the briefcase holders can become the champion. So I kind of feel like Priest is going to be a champion somewhere in the next year. So I guess Finn's my question. What do we do? What is Finn Balor's plan long term? Is he a heel in Judgment Day? Is he a face on a Revolt group of JD? Are he and JD both heels on a offshoot group? I feel like Finn Balor has the most to lose in all of this creative plan.
I could see maybe Damian Priest cashes in and loses, and then that's when Judgment Day says, we were only keeping you around because of the briefcase.
Ooh. But what that would do to Priest.
I mean, I'm not saying that's the best solution. I'm just saying that might be where they're going. I'm
taking my pen and I'm crossing that shit out.
Well, because if, as it is now, and Jimmy, I'd like your thoughts. You can't kick out Priest. If I'm in that group, I'm like, no, he's got the briefcase. I'm not going to side with the guy who just lost 2 in a row to the champ. I'm siding with the guy that has the briefcase. I can't logically think of any reason to get rid of Damian Priest, Jimmy.
Not at this time. I think the way it's being set up, like Justin said, there are options. There are different directions you can go. But Damian Priest seems very dominant. And yes, We saw the miscue causing the DQ with the tossing of the briefcase and all that stuff tonight. But that's neither here nor there. But as far as where the story is going with Judgment Day, the dissension is there. It's continuing weekly. But what I like out of this, and I know this is getting a little bit, steering off track a little bit, is the domination of Rhea Ripley out of this, who, like we've said how many times tonight, seems to be the new, pretty much de facto leader of the group. Mm-hmm. So she is the dominant voice in Judgment Day right now. She's the one trying to hold the glue together, and I like where that's going. I think that's a big part of it. And if they do split up, because Rhea will be fine with Dom. Will be fine because he's just a heat magnet right now. And like Justin said, Damian with the briefcase. Usually the briefcase guy cashes in, and who knows, maybe this is one of those rare situations where it doesn't happen due to some either intentional or unintentional extracurriculars from someone like a Finn Balor and JD McDonough.
Jimmy, you lived it, so I want to ask you. You reffed during this time and during these matches. Mm-hmm. The closest comparison I could give to Rhea, she's the closest to China. She is, in terms of being in a male-occupied space, and she's just got the physical presence. She's got the physical dominance. She's got a little bit of sex appeal. She's the closest thing to China I think that they've ever had. Mm-hmm. Like, it's almost. Could you even imagine an apples to apples scenario of like, this is the case of what it would have looked like if China would have become the de facto, okay, Triple H, X-Pac, Road Dogg, Billy, I'm going to set you guys straight, and I'm going to be the de facto voice of reason in DX while we're being pulled by the corporation, pulled by the whatever. Like, yeah, does that resonate at all with you, or is that, or are we apples to oranges? Is it too different of a scenario?
I think it was a different time.
Yeah,
I don't know if it would have worked at that time.
Yeah.
Yes. China definitely was a dominant female, and if it was today, maybe I think it would have been more.
Maybe then the audience didn't take females serious enough.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Maybe, and I hate to put it that way because I know people are going to say, "How dare you say that?" But it was a sign of the times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right now, they're making a conscious effort to enhance the female roster because they have a hell of a female roster, but Rhea is just a special talent.
Yeah.
And like you said, because back in the day, China was too. And I think they were kind of a little bit confused on how to use her at times.
Yeah, because China, I mean, we talk about how Rhea Ripley is a bigger star than most of the women in the roster. I mean, at that point, there was no female that could stand up next to China and look believable at all.
Right.
How ahead of her time China was. Mm-hmm. When we had these conversations, it really puts that in perspective.
See, I still remember, officiating the match with her and Chris Jericho, the IC title.
Yeah, like that must have been interesting. How did you feel going into that?
I thought it was kind of cool. I honestly did. The only thing was when they, I'm trying to remember how the finish was, but it was like co-champions. Mm-hmm. They were both considered Intercontinental champions. And then when we left to fly to the next city after TV that night, I think it was in Richmond, Virginia, neither one of them took the IC championship with them because they thought the other would carry it. I ended up bringing the IC title with me. So we're going through, and of course I wasn't going to put it in my check bag. I'm putting it in my carry-on. And, we're going through security and, they say, what is this? And they end up pulling out the title and stuff like that. And of course, Chibble gives me the old, you ain't got a hair on your butt if you don't put that on and walk through the airport. So I walked through the airport with the IC championship on.
So to be clear, so you're putting it in your carry-on because you don't want to lose it, right? Because the check bags can be lost.
Right.
Now, Jimmy, I thought, correct me if I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. So there's two IC titles that Jericho and China are carrying, but isn't, at the time at least, aren't there TV belts? And then aren't there like secondary versions of the belt to carry for non-TV. Like there's polished, nice belts for the TV.
But that's it. We were going from TV to a house show.
Okay, so neither China or Jericho thought, oh, it's a house show, I don't need to have the polished TV one, and so they just let it just sit backstage, and then you had to take it.
I had to take it.
Yeah. So Jimmy, you had the Intercontinental Championship, but no one beat you to take it. So
no, I forfeited it. Yeah.
I mean, you're to me, you're kind of an unbeaten champion, but possession's 9/10 of the law and all that. So you're the guy, but I think that does it for us. I think that does it for this week's episode. Everyone in the chat, let me know your overall thoughts of the show while we go around the horn. Jimmy, final thoughts of the show, and where can the world find you online?
The world can find me online here on Monday. Well, first thoughts on the show. I thought it was a fine show. It progressed things forward going into the I was going to call it pay-per-view, premium live event there in Pittsburgh. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy yourself there, Justin. That's for sure. And as far as where you can find me, here on Monday nights with Triple J usually, and on Wednesday nights it's Justin and I with Lisa talking about AEW Dynamite. You can catch the Reffin' It Up podcast with my good brother in stripes, Brian Hebner, and I, and RJ, who holds the glue together. And this week we're going to be a day late. We're going to put it out on Thursday, but we've got Anthony Corelli, a.k.a. Santino Morella, this week.
Oh,
so it should be a lot of fun. And of course, you can catch me on my Reffin' Rants from Monday to Wednesdays. I'm on all my social media platforms, but today it was more of a ref and respect to my old buddy, the rated R superstar, the Edster, the person who wrote the foreword to my book. He's a great talent, a great friend, but even a greater person. What a good dude.
Is he really retired? He's come back, right?
You know what? I don't know. I couldn't speak to that, but whatever he decides to do, he earned the right to make the choice himself. And he's, like he said, he's going to go home and talk it over with his family. And whatever he decides is cool with me.
Well, he's definitely earned going out however he wants to. Yes. Justin, what did you think of the show overall, and final thoughts, and where can the world find you? And where can the world find that Rhea Ripley interview?
Yeah, it was an okay show. Again, they're a week and a half out from Payback, so still need to get some matches made and some things figured out. But I thought overall it was an entertaining episode. Follow me at Justin LaBar across socials. Actually, this Wednesday and the following Wednesday, I will not be on. So I will not be on the Post Dynamite for the next 2 Wednesdays. So it'll be Jimmy, Issa, or whatever combination. Maybe Jack is there. But follow me across the socials at Justin LaBar. Yeah, the Rhea Ripley interview, we'll do that again. Not this Thursday, but the following Thursday. So right as we come into Payback, I'll have that across my socials, have it on triblive.com. I'll put out all the details. But yeah, I just had Damian Priest a few weeks ago. We had a lot of fun. I got him to spill a little tea about road life with Rhea. So you better believe I'm going to fire back to Rhea and let her have her moment to rebut to Damian Priest about their road life. And again, she's on a run, as we talked about tonight, that is just pretty unprecedented. So does she have feelings about China? I think it's the thing I'm probably going to bring up to her. I would love to get her take of where she is at, because I think she's certainly broke the mold in the WWE women's division. So all that at Justin LaBar. Just follow me across socials. And of course, like, comment, share this podcast. And if you have a custom license plate, please tweet any of us the pictures of that license plate.
Yeah, see if we can guess what it's supposed to say.
Yeah.
But you guys got some great interviews coming up. I'm kind of jealous right now, but I've got some stuff going on too. You can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. I was here today. Going to be on Wrestling Inc. tomorrow for NXT. Going to be on Wrestling Inc. for AEW Dynamite. Going to be on for SmackDown. So I'm going to be around a lot. You're going to see a lot of old J Farm running wild on Wrestling Inc. Make sure to give us a like, comment, share, subscribe, and leave nice comments there. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Adam Staples, Beer Money. Haven't seen you in a while, Beer Money. Good to see you. Ricky Zaldivar, Dylan Matthews, Dream Realm Studios, and Tommy O lurking. Danny Cochran, Arthur, and Max and Huffman and everyone else. Thank you guys so much. That does it for us. We'll see you tomorrow on the NXT